It's great. You got the light. Hey, good evening, everyone. Dave Wilson of the Ring of Hire Show. Hey, listen, tonight I got a great friend. She's going to come on coast the show with me, Diana Lamb of Dallas, Texas. How you doing, Diana?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Dave, how are you?
Well, we're doing better now. So we're going to be talking about ageism tonight, and we're going to come right back after this. But I know Diana's blinking light over there. She can't figure out what it is. So I kind of told her, I was like, you know what? This might be something called ageism. So this video here, my friend Steve from Utah, he made this video for me. So let's try it out.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, Diane, you know who did this video? I bet you can guess right now.
Stephen Farrell.
Stephen Farrell of Utah. Steve, I got to tell you, I played it before, and then Diane's like, I like that.
I love it.
So, Steve, thank you. He made an intro for me tonight, and that's pretty cool, Steve. So he does staffing, and he's over in Utah. So, hey, tonight, everyone, it's kind of a topic that I've never touched on before. And when Diana reached out about doing a show on ageism, I thought, you know what, that's different. And Diane, we were talking before. Wow, when you look into it and you do some research on it, ageism, it's crazy.
It is. It's there was a lot more to it than I even imagined. So it was interesting research, definitely.
It was, and I got to say, I like your blinking lights behind there. See, Diane, she's trying to figure out how to work her tablet, and I don't think it's working. But we were joking, saying I think that's ageism. But we got Kenny on the show tonight. Savor the flavor, the awesomeness, and you, sir, for sharing your delectable thoughts. Diane, if you haven't connected with Kenny D, you have to. Everybody is.
Okay.
He's on everybody's show. But after I told you when we were talking about ageism, when I did a lot of reading on it, I thought it was more, well, it is like towards your interviews, because people tend to, well, this person's older. I don't know if we're going to bring them on, hire them. But a lot more of it was behind the scenes of everything at work.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And we were saying how, do I say ageism myself? Am I guilty of it? Or are you guilty of it? And I told you I had a hard time some of these things because I think in some ways I was maybe a little bit, not like when some people are, but I think I had a little of it in me.
We probably all do. I mean, to a certain extent. And, we were kind of talking before about, as we've come up through the ranks, we definitely felt we were respectful.
Sure.
But did we kind of in the back of our head think, well, I definitely respect Joe over here that has, 20 years at the company and he can show me a lot, we know, but is he open to me showing him some things that I know as well?
That's what we had brought up and talked about. Jake says, hey, the funniest guy. I have definitely seen ageism in the workplace, but I've seen so much more people using their age as a defense mechanism.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Jake, wow. These kind of things make you think. A lot of these things that we're going to talk about tonight, it's something. Bill, Bill's over in Pittsburgh. How you doing, Bill? He's a great colleague, Diane. If you want to connect with Bill, he's always on the show. We talked about in 1967?
Yes.
1967, they came up with the act. The ADEA Act of 1967. And
The
that,
Age Discrimination Employment Act.
yep, and that against people who were 40 years old and older. Now, even you were shocked because you said 40 years old.
Yes.
I didn't know it was at 40. I didn't know it was at 40. I would have never thought that. Kenny, I'm not old enough to be. I'll be 64 in June. Oh, here's Kenny. Oh, here's Kenny D. He's another great. See, oh, he's on this. Look at this. He's on there too. Oh, he just talks to everybody over here. We got Tim. I saw it when I was younger, and I thought it was terrible. And I know the feeling at this point in my career. That brings up a good point, the way Tim says that. And we had talked about it. I don't care. I tell people I'm 55, and I'm like, I'm freaking old, I guess. I'm ageism to a T. You know, what do you feel like? Do you feel at the same point in your life?
In just kind of off track there, but a word that Kenny used, that seasoned word. You know how seasoned used to be one of those great buzzwords. You know, we were talking buzzwords earlier, and seasoned now is no, don't use it. Seasoned just basically just says I'm old.
Well, you're right. Because like we told you before, I feel growing up, we talked about respect. You respected people that you were at a company and wow, this person had 25 years. They must know everything. You know, they know a lot of stuff. And I don't think I used it that way because of the word respect. If you take that respect out of there, I don't think it would have mattered that much. But growing up, you just respected people. But I looked at it as wisdom where they understood, not the other way around.
Huh. That's it. That's interesting. Yeah, interesting thought.
Yeah, that was just the way I thought. Like I only thought about it that way. Now, we talked about sometimes, you know, it depends on the job. I was telling you if it was, you know, it depends on the job. And I was telling you for the company where you're unloading trucks and physical. And did I hire younger people? Yes. Did I hire some, I don't know, I want to say older because that's ageism, but I did because I told you before everybody came to work.
Dependable?
Dependable.
Is that another buzzword now?
But that's my thought process of being dependable, you know. And again, that's just me. And you know, Steve says a hot topic. These guys will comment. David, you are not old. Okay. We were also bringing up that with that law in 1967, if you had less than 25 workers, it didn't apply to you. Employment agencies applied to everybody. Federal, local, state governments, it applied. So the act was there to help people, but you really have to have a lot of information to really documentate it.
Oh yeah, I actually spoke to a attorney, I don't know, like 5 years ago, just in chatting with him, and he actually said it is so hard to prove that he really doesn't take those cases.
That's what they were saying, because 80% of them they fail. 80% of cases fail.
And I mean, you know, that's kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, just touching on like racism, sexism. Okay. Those, you know, those really stand out. We know those, we see those, you know, we definitely know when that happens, but ageism, much harder. It
is. And like Matt says, there are definitely ways companies work around it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
After all, Matt, you know me, man, after all these trees I cut down to make these notes, they're notes. I mean, see, I say ageism. The most younger ones don't write notes. So, you know, they don't probably know what that is, but he's right. Companies, some of them don't even know that it exists. They don't know. They don't even realize. They think they was saying they think they're covered, but they're not. You know, I wanted to run these through you here. I was talking about ages. So the average age in some of these companies, it was saying on here, it said AOL 27, Facebook 28, LinkedIn 29, Salesforce 29, Google 30, Apple 31, Yahoo 31, eBay 32, Microsoft 33. Wow, I'll tell you what, if you're in your 30s, you got it friggin' happening.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking about. Back when I was in my mid 30s, and how, recruiters were. I mean, I wasn't getting recruiters reaching out all the time, but a lot more than in the last 5 to 8 years. So it's like they know.
Yeah, I looked at all the average ages. Hospitality was in the 30s, wholesale retail 30s, late 30s, construction was 42. And these numbers like education 43, financial, and this makes sense, manufacturing 44, 45, transportation, business professionals 42. It kind of raises upwards. It goes higher.
So, that reminded me of a joke about owners of Corvettes, and they're always older gentlemen. And why is that? Well, because they're the only ones that can afford the insurance. So kind of falls into what you're saying.
That I agree with you, because they're saying the gender difference in perception of discrimination. 72% of women between the ages of 45 and 74 said they think their people face discrimination at work. 57% of men in that same range said so. So they're saying women have a little bit higher of ageism in that range. Hey, Daryl's Diane, he's over in Texas. He's another great colleague. Tech is horribly bad for ageism.
Oh yeah, I bet. Definitely.
That was one of the big things on here that I circled, that it's a very high end looked over, because somebody that's got 20 years, 20 years, that's outdated. That's just so outdated that they want younger right out of school, they were saying, and everything like that. So he is right there. It's horribly bad.
Since you brought up those companies and the ages, I'd really be interested in hearing what are some of the companies that have 45 and 55 as their average age. Can we even find those?
And
I'm going to put that on my list just because I'm curious now.
All right. They said a lot of it here. Hearing age-related comments are insults. Employers or managers who make age-related remarks or speak to you in a demeaning tone may be hovering on a line of harassment, but it can be, ageism. So just saying comments to somebody over and over, I guess that's in a demeaning tone, but I'm not sure. Find that one there. I don't know.
That's pretty blunt, I guess. It seems like it would really stand out.
It says here, though, even those oldest boomers not held back professionally because of age may experience something called microaggressions, which are brief, commonplace, daily, verbal, behavioral, environmental indices, intentional, unintentional, communicate. I have no idea what this is even saying. I lost myself reading this damn thing. I even highlighted it. No clue. Don't even know what I said there except boomers. But now when you say, now think about that. What do you think of when you say boomers?
I'm not really good with those, remembering what generation I am.
Yeah, well, we're the boomers. So you can look at that there. Some of the things that some people say that they experienced are from job postings, job descriptions, interviews. We talked about that. When you interview somebody, I personally, when I interview somebody, I don't really look at the age to do the job. That's just me. I mean, do you see that in interviewing?
When I was recruiting, I didn't either. But is that because we're older?
That's what I mean. I didn't look at that. I looked at, God, like they always say again, I guess, reliable, but then it's kind of ageism with me even saying that, kind of, because you're gearing yourself. I guess you're saying I'm reliable. We talked about if somebody being older that, well, they don't have kids to go home to, like for health thing, or like you said, what you said about what going home early,
right? You know,
know,
you got to take them to the doctor. You know, it's my turn to take them to soccer practice, and you know, you don't have to worry about that.
and that's the difference. You're not seen as valuable because of the pace and the constant updating of skill sets. So by 35, you're supposed to be a director or VP, not a worker. Okay. David, you said the damn hilarious. Kenny, I'm just saying, Kenny, this show is hard for me because I think I'm full of friggin' ageism. You know, I swear I was reading through this. I mean, I've made jokes to people, but I don't think I made it towards of like discrimination, but maybe that's just joking around, you know, saying, hey, look at that old timer or something like that. Or, but I guess that can be used the same way.
I almost wonder, I think I might have been kind of reverse. I know a couple of years ago, I was showing a coworker who was just out of college. She hadn't really spent much time on LinkedIn. I was telling her, hey, you should post something, you know, and she's like, well, I can't. And I was like, what do you mean you can't? And she's like, well, you know, I said, pull it up and click, you know, post. And she's like, nothing happened. So I walk over there and I look at her screen. And she clicked post, and I said, okay, now scroll down. And she goes, oh. And I was like, are you kids supposed to be real tech savvy?
Well, it's true. It's, you know, oh, there's Steve, right? And Steve is tech savvy. Let me tell you, Steve does not sleep. Steve works all night long. And I'm going to guess Steve's in his 30s, right? I should say, wow, that's ageism there. But Steve just nonstop. And he's better at cell phones. He's better at all this stuff right here, computers, Adobe. He was telling me tonight, I felt so old when he's talking about Adobe. I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know how to do that. You know, Steve's 34. He's 34. So is this ageism tonight that I'm asking people's ages, right? Phew.
I don't know if it's just tech related though, because like I like that because it's a challenge. So some good friends of mine, I'm not going to mention their names, but they have some sort of fancy key lock with the keyless entry plus the video. I had to go through like 3 different apps on their phones to get this set up right, where it would do all the fancy bells.
That's what I mean. Like, oof.
Yeah, but it becomes that challenge, and I have to figure it out.
It is.
Now, I'm not going to say all the words that I used in between figuring all that out, but I did it.
It's true. It's true. And here they were talking about, and this is on a serious note, you know, getting turned down for promotion. That is a big, I do believe in that. Like, I would see that being a big issue with some people, the way things are now. Maybe I'm wrong nowadays versus years ago. I don't know. We even said it. I think it was different than now.
But then you go, okay, so how do I prove it? How do I prove that, you know, Mr. 38 over here, you know, is definitely not more qualified?
Well, you know what they were saying about that is, about being turned down for promotion was, if that person's been there for like 15, 20 years and somebody else newer comes in, they were saying how, well, the older ageism, you're set in your ways. That's what they were saying. Well, they're set in their ways. And I'm like, set in your ways? Well, that don't work. Just do it the easy way. Always just, and you talked about that, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
What were you saying about that?
Well, you know, I mean, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Right.
But because I can tend to get in a rut, and if things are going well, you know, but I definitely think I'm open to ideas because I love to learn. I love to learn something new. And
do you think people would overlook you though? Do you think they would overlook that?
Possibly. I mean, because if I say, oh, well, this is what I've been doing. I mean, I've been doing it for like 10 years and it works great. I could see somebody going, oh, well, you know, does she know what's happened in the past 10 years?
And that's for turned down for promotion. And let's see what Tim says here. At a tech job I didn't get last fall, the last person I interviewed was a 29-year-old would be a coworker. A friend reported back confidentially that their comment on me was he seemed really smart, knows the industry, and I liked him. But come on, he's so much older than the rest of the team. I just don't see a good fit. Wow. That, yeah. But come on, he's so much older than the rest of the team. I just don't see a good fit. They're the type of things that, you know, we're laughing tonight, and you know me, I'm always joking about it. But in seriousness, that is the kind of things that hurt.
That to be so blunt about it, that's
yeah. But that's just the way. Here we go. I feel like I'm ageism again, but here I go talking about it, saying that is just the way some of the right there. If I say younger generation, I'm done. You know. Let's see, Matt. I learned a lot from YouTube for tech stuff. Matt, I can picture you doing that, Matt. Yes.
Oh, I do too. I fixed my washing machine from a YouTube video.
See, that's the way to go. That's my wife. So let's see, Steve. Question for Diane. Is reverse ageism a problem in today's workplace for leadership roles? Are people biased against young individuals?
Oh, well, I have to say, I'm sure. Yes, I think so. I mean, I don't know if it's, you know, I think it's probably a portion of, okay, well, maybe some of it is their own insecurity.
Right, I like the way you said that.
And then some of it could be definitely just, well, you know, because I know everything, and, you know, and then some of it could be just ageism.
Yeah, you said it right there. I know what he's saying there, because especially if I get this right, is if you've been there for a while and you got a supervisor that comes in and the person's only 25 to 28 years old. Right. And then you have to take over and try to teach, or, you know, you're overseeing people that are twice your age.
And they're excited. They're like, oh, you know, so I've been working on this report, and, you know, I think there's a faster way we could do it.
Right.
No. You know, they can't possibly think that someone younger could have figured out a better way. And, you know, then, or they don't want to acknowledge that someone younger figured out a better way. So I definitely think it's a problem.
It is. I like the way you said that too. Don't bring your computer program punch cards to the interview for a programmer job. John, I love that. Oh God, oh my God, that's hilarious. I love that, John. Thank you. I'm smiling at that one. Matt, as far as setting your ways, I totally disagree. I feel we have to learn more on the fly than the younger generations that grew up with more technology.
Oh, that very interesting point. Yes.
And Matt's in that middle age too, because see, he's in that age to where I told you, in that 40 range, 34, 40, 45, right there is a tight age right there where you can go either way. You're going to say, well, they're older or they're younger. They're in that middle generation there. And yeah, I'd say now, as I do a lot on the fly. This is a good show. I didn't realize there was so much.
And I just want to say, like, I like my age. I like that. I don't care about so many things that I did 15, 20 years ago.
This show just falls. I think we're just like, okay. That being said, wow, I'm still thinking of that. Oh my God. Here's one: being overlooked for challenging work assignments. To me, I just listen, when there's like a big projects, I don't know. I don't know about that one. I don't know. I'm sure they do. You know, the tactic frustrates and demoralizes the worker while making them look less useful and valuable to the broader organization. They're saying here the way they may force older employees out also is by lightening the load.
I could see that.
I'll tell you what, that would be horrible. I've never experienced it. I've never seen somebody doing that because of age. My career.
Yeah, some of the things that I think we learned is, the surprise at how ageism is actually happening is it's not just so obvious as to, oh, well, yeah, she's been here, 25, 30 years.
That's what I
No,
mean.
it's like you said, like they're lightening the load. They're, and they're, and the poor person thinks, oh, wow, well, how great. They're helping me out. Yeah, they're helping me right out the door.
That's true. I'm laughing, but I'm not. All this is what I told you about the show. When we talked about it, I never did a show on ageism. Never did. So when you said this, and then today, during my lunch, and then when I got home, I'm looking through all this. I'm like, oh my God, look at all this stuff. This one here, becoming isolated or left out. It says, similar to the previous point, employers or managers may begin to remove you from meetings, leave you out of the decisions, and may even isolate your desk location away from your department or group. Let me tell you, if they start moving my desk, wow.
It blows your mind to think that those things would actually happen.
Yeah, and they happen. And John says here, my body is old, but my professional mind is about 28 and my humor is 12 years old. And John, I love this. I was pitch and hold at Boeing because of my age, no promotions, no raise. I quit, by the way. And he's being honest. That's what I like about it. He's being honest about it. And again, left out, work assignments, you're laid off when it comes to they're trying to force you to retire or lay you off. That was a big thing that I was looking at. Layoffs happen at companies all shapes and sizes, but if your company is laying off older employees, you may be able to prove age discrimination. Now, they say a way to get around that is they'll shut one department down. I didn't think of these things like that. Or forcing them out, offering them early. Now, I've seen a lot of this. Now, I'm going to go back years ago. When I was in my 20s, I remember them at the paper mill. They were the unions, the companies would try to get the older people out, and they would offer them early retirement.
That still goes on. I saw it I've seen it at several companies.
Yeah, so they're still offering early retirement. So that's just like saying to me, wow, is it because of the cost of the salaries? And that's something. It's illegal today to try and act or mandatory retirement age. And I get that, but they'll figure out ways. Having your position eliminated. This is an all too common practice at companies. Eliminating a role by changing the job title. That is a possible evidence of age discrimination. And these were just things that I found on there.
So one thing that we kind of touched on earlier, I wondering if some of the people in the audience would weigh in on. One thing I always assumed is when they wanted to either, get rid of someone older or not hire someone older, they wanted to go the younger route was because of salary. There's kind of that assumption that they're definitely willing to take a lot less.
Yes.
Has anybody else encountered that or thought that way, and have they seen anything like that? That was just something.
No, that's a good point, because you asked myself, and we both said, well, we're more experienced. Right?
Yeah.
But that's a great question too. And I hope look at Steve. Wow. Many tenure executives do not understand the younger generation, therefore do not promote them into their senior leadership roles. I understand. Yep. They apply their experience to the present market and expect the new generation to follow the same path incorrectly. The speed of technology and the virtual learning has 100 times compared to boomers and baby boomers, and younger leaders have gained the experience much faster. You know what? Wow.
Yeah.
Steve, you nailed that one. I didn't see. These are the kind of things I like about this show. I didn't think about that. Like the virtual learning 100 times. You didn't have this. You didn't have all that. all the time you could just Google, okay, what's wrong, and get an answer for it. But damn, I could read that over and over 100 times.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Really interesting.
Daryl, putting yourself out to pasture. That's funny. We have a couple more things. How come? Let's see here. Establish a policy. Well, they were saying how companies, they, with all the new types of HR directors, and they put out policies, but they need to train everybody. They need to teach. They need to bring that up in their handbooks, company handbooks, how they talk about ageism and set the example. But again, we talked about a lot of companies do not realize that it goes on every day.
No, because it's not as overt as, racism and sexism and so forth.
And it's there.
Definitely.
Let's see. We have one more thing for myself here. Let's see. Okay. Currently, we know it's illegal for employers to ask your age or your graduation date. That was a big thing because years and years ago, oh God, I'm sitting there, I'm putting myself out to pasture. Oh my God. How do you say it without thinking you're older? Okay. 5 years ago, but I do remember when on the applications that had what year you graduated.
Well, I actually was in an interview about 5 or 6 years ago. The interviewer was a much older gentleman. He actually asked me if I was married.
I've heard of that happening in an interview. I have heard that happening.
Yeah.
That happens too. And they ask you your age.
Well, and he asked something along the lines, I think how old my son was or something like that. And it really threw me off.
You know why they do that? To see, I know what you're saying. How old are your children?
Yeah.
That's a good question to sneak that one in there. Because a lot of people, when you're going for an interview, they got your pictures, of your children. And if you see some college people or you say, well, they're in college, well, then you probably could guess somebody's age around there. That's a sneaky one.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. All right. So we know that. We know the agencies. 1 in 5. Let's see. What do you have on yours? I know you wanted to bring up one thing here. Age discrimination. Go ahead.
So the one of the things that I found in my research, I was reading this article that Forbes did just last summer about ageism. So one thing that tells you that it's still very much happening and out there.
Yep.
I kind of feel like it's very under the radar. But the writer mentioned that back when he was like around 22, he was working with his mentor to do some research, and his mentor said, okay, you're going to have to interview people in their 30s and people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s for about 2 hours. And so he was like, okay, he walked out of there. He's like thinking, he was not looking forward to interviewing the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I was surprised, but, and then he said after he finished the interviews, he was not only really engaged by all the ages, but he found the older ones were much more interesting. And that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it just seems obvious. So maybe I'm doing the pro ages. I don't know.
No, that makes total sense. It goes back to, I believe, what we were talking about before is respect. And
respect, experience, all those, things the stories that they have.
Well, Steve's got another one here. Wow. All right, Steven. Where'd you get list of illegal interview questions? How old are you? Yes. When did you graduate? Right. Are you married? Are you gay? Do you have plan on having children? Who will take care of your children while you're at work? Is English your first language? Are you a U.S. citizen? What country are you from? Where were you? Where were you and your parents born? What is your religion? Where do you go to church? What clubs or social organizations do you belong to? Do you have a disabilities? Wow, that that is a lot. I could see why a lot of them,
Yeah.
and you don't. That's a way somebody could find out your age.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Who would take care of your children while at work? Because if somebody has children, they'll say, well, there's 3 or 4 children, like you said, who's going to take the doctors, go to the doctor, soccer practice, different things. And that's a touchy subject right there, because male or female in a way, because that's a whole nother show, of discrimination of male or female, when it comes to that. But where do you go to church? I mean, that could be somebody trying to find out about your religious beliefs and not hire you for that reason. Do you have disabilities? Well, if somebody says yes, do you really believe that somebody's not going to step back? I don't. Listen, I told you before, I think as you evolve, as you get older, you get wiser. It's a fact, period. You get older, you get wiser, you learn, you grow, evolve, and you can sit back and say these kind of things. Because would a 25-year-old understand, when did you graduate? Are you married? Would they understand that question? I would know them married, because that could go either way. If it's a male asking a female, that could be like, well, like you just said, you were asked out, how old are you? Or you want to go on a date or something like that. Jesus. This one's going to get me worked up on this one. Do you have plan on having children? I mean, why would you ask that? Is English your first language? I don't understand that one. What that would have to do for that. Would you first language?
I mean, I think it just goes to that it's an assumption, to me, would be an assumption that they weren't born here, which is
okay.
true, but that's what popped into my head.
All right, that makes sense. Are you gay? I get that. The way the world is today on that subject, like I said, that's another whole show, but I get it. Everybody has their beliefs. And if you're an interviewer or a company and you don't know your staff is asking these questions, I'll tell you what. I mean, I've never been asked, where were your parents born? You and your parents born? I don't know, Steve. That was a good.
Yeah,
that was a good. He's spot on tonight. What do you feel about to go to church?
Well, so I've worked primarily in the banking industry, so I'm a little stuffy. Like,
can't work weekends.
I'm work stuffy. So it's kind of bred into me. Like I never said Merry Christmas. We always said Happy Holidays. We would never ask about, somebody was talking to me about something, I would never inquire further. I would just always say, oh, have a great evening at, wherever you're going. It was, so I don't want to say I'm a stickler on that, but I that's just what I'm used to. So whenever I got outside of that and, somebody said Merry Christmas, I was like, oh, wow.
And see, that's what everything, the way the world is today. Like you said, it's just the thoughts. And when they say that, like you were just saying that, compared to what they say now. But the reason why they're asking that's a big thing there. I didn't even think about it until you said it like that. But no, I'll tell you what, this was a good show tonight.
I think they should remind us about ageism around 25, because what I would have liked to know then is to readjust my savings and my 401k to know that a lot of people don't make it to 65 when they retire.
No, and like I told you, I got 15 more Christmases and I'm out. I always joke about that, but no, you're right. But I want to thank you for coming on tonight. I think it was a great show. A lot of great questions, and I tell you, I still got like 11 more pages of of things that we can touch on at another time again. But
yeah, I think we can both do more research and have a part two.
But what I want everybody to know tonight, if you're watching this or you share it, or do some really Google, go on there, and you'd be surprised of what people go through, what they shouldn't have to. In my closing part is, I really believe if this happens to you, they were saying, you really need to documentate everything. You really need to write names down, not because you're going to forget, but you really need to put everything together, because if it's on a serious note, if that's happening to you, it's friggin' wrong. It's wrong, and it shouldn't be that way. And I believe it comes down to the companies responsible for training them, giving them the information, the knowledge. Maybe somebody younger doesn't know not to say this. They don't know.
Exactly.
And as a leader in a company, you need to educate your staff. We won't tolerate this. Have a class on it when you go through your orientations. We don't tolerate this. We don't like when people say these things about older people or younger. It can go both ways.
True. Yep.
Right? Ageism can go back to being younger, right? I mean, you're not getting a job because you're too young. I mean, is that right?
Yeah.
And how do you feel about everything? We're going to close this up here, but if you had to say, what you gained from this tonight, what do you think?
Well, I like what you said about, just documenting everything, because I think we both learned there's so many different angles to this that we didn't realize. And so once you start documenting odd things or something that just doesn't seem right, you kind of start writing everything down. Yep. And you start looking at things. That's when you're going to put something together. Like, maybe this is ageism, what I'm experiencing here. So I really like that, and I liked learning the many different facets of it. There was so much more involved than I realized.
Yeah, I'm blown. And Steve got one more. Steve's on a roll tonight. Any questions about your age should be off limits, but it's obvious that you're younger and older than most of the other people in the company. It may be difficult for the interviewer to ignore the elephant in the room. That's very true. I got to tell you, we added Steve onto the show tonight. I think he was right on, and thanks John and Daryl and Matt and boy, a lot of people tonight. Let's see, Bill and Kenny and everybody. Thank you. And Diane, it was a great show. I appreciate your time, and we're going to do another one on this. I want to follow up on everything that we wrote down here and what some people were bringing up. So on that note, Steve's going to see Steve. I was thinking why Steve may be an exit interview. I mean, a video also, but I'm going to tell you an example. The reason why I couldn't download the exit video, I'm making an excuse, but when I went to sign into my MSN account the second time, I forgot my password. And I have to go back now and try to figure out, it sends you to the phone. I haven't reset that thing in so long. So I did have Steve's. The next show, we're going to do the outro that he made. But Diane, thanks so much. And I appreciate you coming on the show tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. I'll be right back. We're going to talk to you after this. Okay.
All right.